Okay, so you guys have a test coming up at the end of the week. So here's the 2124 review sheet. I'm going to go over about half of it, and then what you guys need to do is you need to finish these questions for homework number 28. This worksheet will actually be on our calendar underneath this video link, okay? So let's go ahead and look at problems number 1A through 1B. These are all one-step problems. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line down my equal sign. Remember, my goal for equations is to get the variable by itself. So in this case, I want to get x by itself. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to move over this positive 4 by subtracting it. Bring down the x. And then 6 minus 4 is 2. Circle it, you are done. Most important thing you guys need to remember is showing your work clearly, because we will require that when you guys turn in your test. You guys can do 1B. I'm going to go ahead and do 1C. So this reads k divided by 6 equals 13. So now instead of getting I want to get k by itself, so instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply by 6 to both sides. The 6's cancel, because 6 divided by 6 is 1. K equals, now remember, the calculator, you either have your handheld calculator or you're using that calculator on our Schoology page. Either way, you should definitely be checking your work. 13 times 6 is 78. And then lastly, 1D, this reads negative 8 times y equals 48. So the opposite of times is to divide, okay? So remember, you're going to divide by a negative 8. Negative 8's cancel. 48 divided by negative 8 is negative 6. Circle it, you're done. So your responsibility is to do 1B. Let's take a look at 2A. First, draw my line down the equal sign. Now this says 5/8 times x equals negative 2. So when you have a fraction as your coefficient or your number in front of the variable, you can multiply both sides by the reciprocal in order to clear the fraction. So I'm going to multiply by 8/5 to both sides. The fraction 8/5 times 5/8 cancel, so cross that out and bring down the x. Now, in your calculator, you are going to end up putting negative 2 times 8, and then you're going to divide by 5. And you're going to get a decimal, and that's okay, and you get negative 3.2. So you're going to do the same thing with 2b. Remember, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/5, which is 5/1. Use the calculator because you do have a fraction. Your responsibility is 2b. I'm going to come back to the word problems. Okay, let's take a look at 4a. You have negative 14 equals negative 5 plus 3a. My goal is to get a by itself. This is a two-step. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move that number over and combine with negative 14. That's a negative 5, so I'm going to add 5. Negative 14 plus 5 is negative 9. Bring down the 3a. Now my last step is to get a by itself, so this is 3 times a. The opposite is to divide. A's cancel. 3's cancel. A is equal to negative 3. Circle it, you are done. Your responsibility is to do 4B. I'm going to skip the word problem and I'll come back to those. And let's go ahead and take a look at 6A and 6B. I'm going to go ahead and do 6A, and then you guys can do 6B on your own. What you'll notice, this says x minus 4 divided by 2 equals negative 4. We need to get rid of this denominator, that divide by 2. Now, in order to get rid of a divide by 2, you're going to multiply both sides by 2. The 2's cancel, and what I'm left with is x minus 4 equals negative 8. Now this looks like a one step. I have x minus 4, so the opposite is to add 4 to both sides to get x by itself. X is equal to negative 4. 6b is very similar to that one. Moving on, we're getting into more difficult multi-step equations. I am going to go ahead and do 7b, so you guys are responsible for 7a. So the first thing I notice about 7b is I have some invisible ones that I have to add. So I added the invisible ones, and now I'm going to look at the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I notice on the left-hand side I have to combine like terms before I do anything. The negative 1m and the negative 1m are like terms, so we're going to combine those. So really, what's negative 1 minus 1? Well, you get negative 2. And then equal negative 3. Now, I have a two-step. So I need to move over that positive 9 and combine it with negative 3. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to minus 9, cancel. Make sure when you bring down the negative 2m, you're attaching the negative. Negative 2m equals negative 12. Now that's negative 2 times m, so the opposite is to divide. Make sure you're dividing by negative 2. Negative 12 divided by negative 2 is positive 6. Circle it, you're done. 7a is very similar. We have to combine like terms and then you can solve. Moving on, let's go ahead and look at 8b, just because this one looks a little bit more challenging. You guys are responsible for 8a. So the first thing I notice, whenever you see parentheses, you always need to get rid of those first. So I am going to clear my parentheses by distributing. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times positive 4 is 12. Don't forget to bring this 2x down. Now I'm left with 3x plus 12 plus 2x equals 27. On the left-hand side, I notice that I have like terms. I'm going to have to combine those before I do anything. Well, 3x plus 2x is 5x. You'll notice if they're on the same side, you don't change the signs, okay? It's only when you cross that equal sign onto the other side that you're going to end up using opposites. Now, I have 5x plus 12 equals 27. I got to move that 12 over to combine with 27. So then we get 27 minus 12, which is 15. Last step is to divide by 5. Cross those out, and x equals 3. You guys can go ahead and do 8a by yourself. Moving on. Okay, we got a decimal problem and a fraction problem. Remember, these are just basic two-step problems with decimals and fractions. Use your calculator, okay? So, 9b, I'm going to do this one. You guys can do 9a with the decimals. So really, what I want to do here is I want to solve for b, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to minus 1/4 to both sides. So in your calculator, and you might need to use a calculator online, either way it doesn't matter, you're going to do 13 over 20, and then you're going to minus 1/4. And what you should get is 2/5. So you end up with b over 5 equals 2/5. Now, that says b divided by 5. The opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm just going to multiply both sides by 5. These 5's cancel. b is equal to, now what you would do in your calculator is you would do 2/5 times 5, and you would end up with 2. Circle it, you are done. Moving on. And obviously you can go back and re-watch problems if you need help with those with this video. So this is variables on both sides equation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 10a. So I have 4x minus 3 equals negative 2x plus 9. what you'll notice is the variables are on both sides. I always want my variables on the left side. So how am I going to move a negative 2x to the left-hand side? I'm going to add 2x. So you get 6x minus 3 equals 9. Now I got a two-step. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 6x equals 12. Divide by 6, divide by 6, x equals 2. 10b is very similar. Okay, so we're coming down to the last. We're going to do 2 more of these, and then I might have time to look at a word problem. So what you'll notice here is I have parentheses, and I have 2 sets. So I need to get rid of the parentheses first. I'm going to draw my loops because that's going to remind me to multiply by both things in the parentheses. So 3 times k is 3k. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 2 times k is 2k. 2 times 5 is 10. Now I got to get my k's on the left side. Minus 2k. So 1k minus 15 equals 10. So I am going to add 15 to both sides. And then lastly, I'm going to divide both sides by 1, and k equals 25. When you guys show your work on the test later this week, make sure that you're showing every single step, okay? Let's go back up to that 2-step word problem. So it says, and this is kind of similar to the 2-step word problems that we made you guys do in class, and you had to record your video. So it says 2 friends rent an apartment. They have to pay the landlord 2 months rent and $650 security deposit when they sign the lease. The total amount they pay the landlord is $3,050. What is the rent for 1 month? So the question, that's always going to be what I'm looking for. That's going to be my variable. So x is equal to rent for 1 month. Now, important information. Well, they have to pay the landlord 2 months rent and a $650 security deposit. The total is $3,050. That's all important. So now we got to write an equation. Well, we know no matter what that they have to pay the $650. So $650 plus, now they have to pay 2 months rent, but we don't know how much the rent is, but we know that it has to be 2 months of it. So we're going to do 2 times x, or 2x. And then the total they pay is $30.50. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite that equation and solve it. So I'm going to minus $650 to both sides. And then in your calculator, you're going to do $30.50 minus $650. And you'll end up with $2,400. Divide by 2, and then each month is going to be $1,200. Circle it, you are done. So any of the questions, you guys don't need to worry about 12A and 12B, okay? So any of the other questions that we did not answer, that's going to be your responsibility, and then you guys are going to turn this in by taking a picture of it and submitting it into that assignment. Okay? Well, have a wonderful day and get studying for the week. We'll see you guys on Thursday.